Well, this morning we're talking to a man who's going to be appearing at the Iowa Events Center in Des Moines this weekend at Wizard World Comic Con. Welcome to KMZN, actor, singer, director, producer, writer, radio DJ, author, and all-around Renaissance man, Micky Dolenz. Hello, Micky.
Hey, wow, what an intro.
Well, you do it all. I was amazed to see your resume when I did a little research into you. You just do everything.
Well, I'm old, you know. I've been around a while, and I guess you cover a lot of bases, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you started off around when you were 11 years old as the star of the TV series Circus Boy. And
right.
I've actually got a friend of mine who said, oh, yeah, I used to watch him on Circus Boy. It was a great show. And one of your competitors for that role was Paul Williams. Is that right?
Yes, that's true.
That's weird.
Paul was also up for the Monkees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's ever forgiven me.
Well, you guys did one of his songs though, "Someday Man," so it kind of balances out, right?
Oh yeah, and I also did on an album I released a couple of years ago called "Remember." I did "Old Fashioned Love Song."
Oh, yeah, great song. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. He had offered that to me, and I didn't get on it fast enough. And, of course, Three Dog Night gobbled it up.
Well, yeah, and, of course, they had a monster hit with it. So when you were on Circus Boy, they sent you out on a promotional tour with the show's Baby Elephant. Is that right? and you took some guitar lessons?
I had been playing guitar. I was learning to play. I actually started playing classical guitar. Spanish Segovia kind of stuff as a kid, but then they said you're going to go on this press junket. Do you know any songs you could sing? And the Elephant was going along with us, and they said, "Do you know any songs you could sing with a little band in Pittsburgh, actually at Kennywood Park?" And I learned Purple People Eater, and I'm going to sit right down, write myself a letter, and a couple of other, and I got up on stage in my little Circus Boy outfit, and sang these two or three little songs with the band, and then the Elephant trainer and the Elephant came out, and they did their Elephant act with me on stage, Circus Elephant act. So basically, my first gig was opening for an elephant.
Well, it's kind of an interesting debut, if nothing else. But you were the drummer on the Monkees. So if you were the guitar player, why did they make you the drummer, you think?
Well, I asked that question when they cast me, and basically they said, you're the drummer. And, I was used to being in television, especially in those days. You get the job, you get cast. Like when they cast me in Circus Boy, they said, you're going to learn to ride an elephant. And I said, okay, where do I start? And so when they cast me in the Monkees, I said, okay, I'm the drummer, where do I start?
So did you...
But I wasn't starting from square one. I already was a musician. I could read music.
Right. Did you have to take drum lessons or anything like that?
Oh yeah, many. And practice for hours and hours. And, I had months to get it down. And I didn't have to play anything. I didn't have to learn every single genre. I just had to learn what I needed to know to play on the show.
Sure. So when did you guys decide you wanted to be actually the band? Now, it started off as a TV show, but you quickly went past that. You decided you wanted to be on the records because they had session guys doing everything in the beginning.
Well, the session guys that you're talking about played on everybody's records.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that documentary, The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, and one of them is from Oskaloosa, right here in this town. Max Bennett, the bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So and he did some of your records.
Well, then, as you know, everybody was using session musicians, including the Beach Boys and Mamas and Papas Association. Everybody. And we, in our case, if you understand that the Monkees was not a band, it was a TV show about a band.
Right.
But clearly they had in mind that we would sing and play eventually, or they wouldn't bother to hire people that could sing and play. And that was part of the audition process. You had to be able to sing and play an instrument to get through the auditions at all.
Mm-hmm.
My audition piece, for instance, was Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry tune, and on guitar. So they obviously had it in mind. But at the beginning, no, you're right. We had absolutely no control over anything to do with music. And it was Mike Nesmith mainly who said, he was disappointed and frustrated because he's a singer-songwriter, and he had felt he'd been hired to sing and write songs besides doing the TV show. Mm-hmm. And so eventually, we did. We kind of put our foot down, our collective foot down, and we did get the right to at least control some of the music and the people involved in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that album was called Headquarters, come out in '67. You guys wrote a lot of the stuff on it. You played most everything on it. And so then you go out on tour, and Jimi Hendrix is your opening act. Now, how did you hook this up?
That's I'll try. It's a long story. I'll try to make it short. I'd seen him in New York playing as a sideman for, I think it was John Hammond, at some club in the Village or something, and he was known then as Jimmy James. But I only remember him being introduced when somebody said, "You got to come down to the club and see this guy play guitar with his teeth." And that's the only way I knew him. And then fast forward months later, I met the Monterey Pop Festival, and all of a sudden, these three guys walk on stage in these crazy outfits, and I look up and they start playing, and I go, "Hey, that's the guy that plays guitar with his teeth." And by then, of course, he was the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Chaz Chandler in England had put him together with Mitch and Noel and created the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Oh, wow. Yeah, awesome.
So I saw him playing, and I thought, boy, he wasn't well known yet. And I told our producers he'd make a great opening act for us because he's very theatrical, which he was, totally theatrical. And I guess they liked the idea. We liked the idea, and he did I think six or eight shows, something like that, with us.
Yeah, so I guess time's getting a little short, so I'm kind of going to fast forward a little bit. Now,
sure.
One of my favorite artists, Frank Zappa, was involved in Head, the movie Head that came out. You guys were kind of charmingly subversive. You had Tim Buckley on your show. I said you were kind of charmingly subversive, the Monkees. When I look at the show today, you got guys like Tim Buckley on there and Frank Zappa involved in Head. And it's just kind of an interesting blend. I heard that Head was actually basically created to end the Monkees. Is that right?
Exactly. Not exactly. That's a long story, too. But the movie was about deconstruction, and yes, it was the Monkees deconstructing. But you got to remember who made that movie. It was Bob Rafelson. Jack Nicholson wrote it. Bob Rafelson directed it. Bob and Bert went on to make Easy Rider and 5 Easy Pieces, and they were part of that new young buck Hollywood, like Martin Scorsese, trying to buck up against the traditional Hollywood major studio system. And so, the Monkees was a bit about that, too. I don't know if you saw the movie or if you remember it. But,
I did actually, many years ago.
Yeah. Well, there's one scene with Mike and I as Calvary guys, and Terry Garr, it's her first appearance on film. And I bust through the back of the set, the screen in the back of the set, telling the director, I'm fed up. I don't want to do this anymore. And it was sort of, like I say, a deconstruction of not just the Monkees, but of the whole Hollywood film industry, because they went on to create, mainly through Easy Rider. Mm-hmm. They went on to basically bust through the major Hollywood studio system. You couldn't get a film made unless you had major studio distribution until then.
Yeah, interesting. So, the Monkees ended then, and then you kind of went into producing, directing. You had a radio gig, too. You were a morning radio DJ for a while, weren't you?
Well, many years later, first thing I did was I moved to England, and I started producing and directing television shows and films and shorts and commercials and stuff, and then came back to the States in the 90s. And, I was in England for nearly 15 years. Came back to the States in the 90s, started to do a little solo touring. We had a huge reunion, a Monkee reunion in 86. And then I started doing Broadway musicals. I did Aida, I did Grease, I did Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, the revival of Pippin. And I started doing a lot of that. And when I was in New York doing Aida, the Elton John, Tim Rice musical, the guys from CBS 101 FM noveled me and said, "You want to be the morning guy?" And I was like, I was like, cool,
Well, sure, why not?
I'd always been fascinated with it. In fact, even as a kid, I built one of those little FM transmitters you could do out of a Heath kit.
Oh, yeah, I did that too, yeah.
Yeah, and as I built one, and I would put on my own radio show from the garage and tell my mother, who was listening in the kitchen, the weather in the driveway today.
Yeah, I did that exact same thing. I think it had a range of like 25 feet or something. Yeah. It was very, very low power. But you also wrote an autobiography too. Yeah,
I'm a believer. I was a number of years ago. I call it an unauthorized autobiography. I did that, and currently now I'm solo touring, and I just did guest starred on an episode of Difficult People, the Amy Poehler Show on Hulu.
Oh, cool.
Streaming on Hulu. Yeah, that's coming out, I think, August. And, keeping busy. I'm having so much fun. I don't know if you got that in the notes, a woodworking business with my daughter.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I've always been sort of a workshop kind of guy. And, it's Dolenz and Daughters Fine Furniture, if you get a chance to look it up. And, keeping busy.
So you really do it all. I mean, you've done pretty much everything. Is there anything you haven't done yet that you'd like to do?
Probably my bucket list kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to CERN, the accelerator in Switzerland. I'm a physics geek.
Really? Seriously?
I was just at Fermilab, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago.
That's incredible.
That's in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a total physics geek.
Wow, that's amazing. So, just briefly before we wrap it up, because I know time's getting short, how did you get involved with Wizard World Comic-Con? What are you going to be doing there?
Well, basically, the celebrities, show up and meet people and sign autographs. It's as simple as that. Those Comic-Cons started out as mainly cosplay, events, and mainly to do with fantasy, science fiction, and horror movies and stuff. But over the years, they've sort of expanded their demographic now. And I'm there. A couple of weeks ago, I did one with Gene Simmons, Kiss, and
oh, cool.
And Charlie Sheen was at the last one a couple of weeks ago, and it's a way to. I didn't know if I'd like it or not, and it turns out I actually have quite a good time, and it is a good opportunity to meet people.
Yeah, you can pass out some business cards for your furniture business too.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I think I may. It's a good idea.
Well, I feel like I could just talk to you for the entire day because you're a fascinating guy. So,
thank you so much. And one other thing I would like to mention is last year we had a top 20 album out called Good Times, and it did very, very well. Very proud of it. It was great songs from originally tracks from even the 60s, Carole King and Neil Diamond.
Oh, wow.
And then all these new writers wanted to write for us. Well, not new, but for me, new. Ben Gibbard of Death Cab for Cutie and Rivers Cuomo from Weezer and Paul Weller and Andy Partridge.
Oh, wow.
Noel Gallagher. Very, very proud of that. Give it a listen if you get a chance, called Good Times.
Yeah, well, XTC is one of my favorite bands. The Jam is one of my favorite bands. So having those guys as writers, that's awesome. Yeah, that's got to be a great album. I will do that.
Yeah, we're very proud of that.
All right, I will do that. Well, hey, I know time's short, so I'm going to let you go. But so Micky Dolenz, Stan Lee, Robert Englund, John Cusack, John Heder, and Dean Cain, just some of these celebrity guests at Wizard World Comic Con this weekend at the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines. Get your tickets at wizardworld.com. I hope our paths cross again, Micky. It's been fun.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks to the legendary Micky Dolenz of the Monkees for chatting with us on Bob's Morning Brew.